I'm gonna go over every bad decision made in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and explain what I would have done differently. We start off instantly with Charlotte. She's at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. Not the one from the first movie. This is a previous location with toy animatronics and a really cool boat ride. So Charlotte sees a yellow rabbit take a kid into the back. She's smart enough to realize this isn't normal and that this kid is most definitely in trouble. Before just going and following, she tries asking for help, which is smart. She asks 3 adults who all just shoo her away, so she takes defeat. When she reaches the door, her friend Vanessa, yes, Vanessa, warns her not to go back there because she obviously knows what her dad is doing. I honestly think Vanessa could have definitely tried much harder to prevent Charlotte from going in. I mean, she knows that once Charlotte enters those doors, the likeliness of her coming back alive is like 9.7%. I also think Charlotte is kind of stupid for not taking Vanessa's warnings more seriously. I get wanting to play the hero, but in this situation, it's not the smartest decision. I mean, we saw Mike get flung by William Afton, so how in the world would a little girl even remotely have a chance to go head to head with Yellow Rabbit? Also, Charlotte knows that Vanessa is the owner's daughter, and seeing how scared she looked should have definitely scared Charlotte away. I would have been like, okay, yeah, bet, I won't go in there, thank you. But sadly, Charlotte enters, and after walking around, she sees a little boy laying on the floor, along with Yellow Rabbit washing his hands. She notices that Rabbit disappears and ignores this, picking up the kid and trying to escape with him. Then we see Rabbit grab a knife and start chasing her, and she does actually exit and save the kid, but sadly she did get stabbed in the back, which leads to her death and her being picked up by Puppet, which obviously symbolizes her becoming Puppet. What's crazy about this scene is how not a single person rushed to save her. I'm not sure how fatal the knife wounds are, but I feel she could have had a chance at surviving if someone rushed to save her and brought her to the hospital ASAP. I can't even begin to understand how you could see a child with stab wounds and just stand there. It's really sad. But regardless of the people failing her, Charlotte could have been smarter about what she did. Obviously, her first mistake was going to save the kid. I understand that sounds cruel, but this is how I'd survive. And to survive, you don't go save that kid. The next mistake is not trying harder to warn someone. I think if she was able to, by some stroke of luck, ask the parents of that kid, they would have helped. But if no one decided to help, it is not a safe situation. A child against a big old yellow rabbit is unfair, and a 10% survival rate. You may be wondering why I say 10%, and this is because, believe it or not, if Charlotte, instead of wasting time being in awe of where Rabbit went, just instantly grabbed the kid and ignored the fact that he disappeared, she would have never been stabbed. Those couple seconds would have saved her life. There's also 2 Hail Mary type plans to survive as well. The first would be, as soon as you hear those big rabbit steps, you drop the kid, run to the exit, open the door and the curtains, scream, now exposing him and forcing him to run off. The next would be, as soon as you hear those steps, drop the kid like right here, grab the fire extinguisher, throw it at his hand, making him drop the knife, or throw it at his head, wounding him, grab the kid and run out. The next mistake is done by Abby. So she goes to Freddy Fazbear's because some Gregory looking kid told her that with her robotics knowledge, she could go fix her friends herself. Because of her coming here, she grabs the Faz Talker, the device that Puppet uses to lure Abby to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. So if it wasn't for Abby going here alone and being silly, well, the main conflict for this entire movie would have never happened, and everyone would have been safe, except for Spectral Scoopers. Spectral Scoopers are these paranormal TV investigators, and they got permission to go shoot at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Upon arriving, Michael Afton jump scares them and just stands there with a creepy smile. The vibe is off. This dude is weird. The group even picks up on this. With this knowledge, the group decides to just split up. First off, splitting up is always dumb. Second off, you are in an abandoned place with a stranger who is a weirdo. You should feel out the situation first. This guy could be a murderer. I mean, he acts like one. Then once you feel safe and trust this guy, maybe split up. The first one to split from the group is Rob, and this guy's kind of an idiot. So he goes walking down what used to be the boat ride. He then takes out his EMF reader, and it's going crazy for this light. So he wants to get this EMF reader as close as he can to the light, and he falls in the water. And you know what? Fine. People make mistakes. But he decides to just stay in the water for some reason, completely jeopardizing his mobility. He then hears a sound and sees that somehow all the little puppets are weirdly missing. Huge warning sign, but he stays in the water. Then he watches a little puppet fall in the water, followed by a wake. And he just stands there for 8 seconds with no urgency at all. Surviving this is insanely simple and pretty obvious. Hear a scary sound and somehow these puppet dolls disappear? Get out of the water. Run. Also, don't just stay in the water. We then go to Lisa, who splits up after hearing the music box. So she decides to go and check that out. She picks up the music box and turns it off, which is stupid. Why are we touching things? But she couldn't know what would happen. But you know what she could have known? The fact that as soon as she turned it off, the present box weirdly started to open. Also, she put her ear to the box and heard weird sounds. Now, from the time the box opened to when Puppet attacked Lisa was literally 19 seconds. I can't even fathom how someone could be that oblivious for 19 full seconds. You might be saying, well, how could she have known this puppet was dangerous? Well, she couldn't. But me personally, if I turned off a music box and then a present box started to open in a supposed rundown abandoned place, that would freak me out. And I will be turning the music box right back on. Now the last spectral scooper, Alex. Alex honestly has the most unfair scenario. His survival rate is like a 7.5%. He hears Lisa scream and looks over at Michael smiling, giving him full confirmation that this dude's bad. So Alex decides to play hero and call out for Lisa trying to save her. And as soon as he does this, Mangle grabs him from above and kills him. Alex had 13 seconds from Lisa's scream and Michael's smile to death. Now there is only one way to survive this, and it sadly does not involve saving Lisa. Pretty much you do exactly what Michael did and run out the front door. We then go back to Abby, and here's where her getting the fast talker shows why it was a bad decision. Abby is in her room, and then the fast talker starts talking.
Abby, help us.
So she doesn't question how this thing is talking and leaves in the middle of the night, following the fast talker to an unknown random place. The fast talker leads her to the original Freddy's, and Abby sees Chica, but Chica obviously looks different. Abby does realize this and asks,
how'd you get this new body?
And Chica doesn't even answer this question at all.
You like it?
If I was Abby, I'd have trust issues. Since the last time she blindly trusted Chica, she almost became an animatronic. So I would test her.
Remember when we all laughed at Freddy for twerking?
And she would be like,
yeah, ha 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 ha.
Since she obviously doesn't know. Then you hit her with, well, that's weird, because that never happened. Then you book it out of there. Abby obviously does not do that, and Toy Chica and Toy Freddy help her build her science fair project. Vanessa then comes over to the house looking for Mike, and sees Abby instead, who tells her about what happened. Vanessa then tries warning Mike that Abby has been seeing Chica and Freddy, and this man just ignores her and gets all emotional, not letting her speak at all. This part really irks me because while Vanessa has random lore drops, she hasn't ever really lied and has genuinely looked out for Mike and Abby. Even if Mike didn't believe Vanessa, he could have at least asked Abby. I mean, I would have been curious. This scene was just stupid plot dialogue. Following this mistake, Vanessa decides to go to Freddy's alone to try to play hero. Vanessa is smart enough to at least bring a gun, which is good, so she goes downstairs and notices the music box is off and broken. Also, the puppet box is obviously open. Vanessa then tries to talk and negotiate with a literal raging demon. Vanessa then hears Puppet behind her, turns around, and Puppet lunges at her. Now real quick, we know that when Vanessa was a child, she was the one to put Puppet to sleep and not her dad, meaning Vanessa did not use the exact music box that her dad used for Charlotte. I may be wrong, but this should mean that any music box would technically work to put Puppet to sleep. So if this is true, as soon as Vanessa noticed that the music box was broken, she could have ran out, went to a random store, bought a music box, came back, turned it on, and bam, everyone's safe, she's a hero. Now this is obviously some quick thinking and kind of a theory, so there is of course another way to survive. From Vanessa hearing and spotting Puppet to Puppet capturing her was 2 seconds. I know that's not a lot of time, and a normal person couldn't react that fast and shoot Puppet, but Vanessa is literally a trained cop and has her gun ready. She could have definitely turned around and just sprayed and prayed. While I don't think this would 100% kill Puppet, it should kill Lisa the host, giving Vanessa enough time to escape. Because of Vanessa not handling Puppet, this allows Abby and Mr. Berg to make the next mistakes. Abby brings her new and improved Little Chica animatronic to the science fair, and for some reason Mr. Berg really hates Freddy's. Maybe because he's jealous of how much of a hunk Freddy is. Anyways, he drops and breaks Abby's project on purpose. And what's crazy crazy is this one stupid, weird, insecure decision is the cause for his literal death. Because of Mr. Berg breaking little Chica, Abby goes and runs down to Freddy's. She tells Chica what happened, and Chica tells her that she will be her science fair project. But Abby first has to disable the perimeter locks so Chica can leave the building with her. While Abby wants to do this for science fair purposes, Chica says that when she said help us earlier with the fast talker, she wanted help disabling the perimeter locks. And Abby literally doesn't question why these animatronics want to roam free, just says,
Okay, I'll do it.
girls should learn how to have some trust issues, especially because the last time an animatronic was out and about, Aunt Jane got murdered. I know Abby didn't like Aunt Jane, but obviously having animatronics in the world is dangerous. I personally would have just taken the A on my project and forgot about it. Also, here's where Vanessa's earlier puppet mistake really cooks everything. Puppet has Vanessa in a chokehold and forces Vanessa to tell her the code so Abby could put it in the computer to disable the perimeter lock. What's crazy is if Vanessa either handled Puppet or just never went to Freddy's, this would have never happened. While this is happening, Mike goes to chat with Charlotte's dad. This is when he realizes there is another Freddy's. And oh, Vanessa was right. Abby is going to see Chica. Mike then calls the school. Abby isn't there, obviously, so he rushes to Freddy's. And of course, with movie magic, he misses her. She already left in Corey's taxi. We'll come back to Mike, but I want to go to Mr. Berg for a second. So Abby goes back to the science fair with Toy Chica, and Mr. Berg is super upset about this and somehow believes a human is inside this robot. You can quite literally see the wiring and metal at the neck. There's no real way someone could have been in this. So Mr. Berg leaves the science fair to get something from his classroom, and while walking back to the science fair, he sees something in this room. And Mr. Berg just loves to be a Karen, so he thinks he found some kid goofing off. Turns out Toy Chica is in this room, and she grabs him and pulls him into the room with her. And this has got to be one of the saddest attempts of someone trying to survive. First off, this dude had so much time to run away upon spotting Toy Chica. He screams upon seeing her and decides he's just gonna stand there. Usually when I'm scared, my first instinct is to run and scream. I guess that's not his. Then once this dude's in the room, there are literally so many things in this room he could have used to attack Chica. Like so much. I would have thrown everything at her. Anyway, let's go back to Mike. He enters Freddy's and honestly handles this entire situation pretty well. He finds Vanessa instantly, rips off Balloon Boy's head, and smartly uses the Freddy mask. The only stupid things he did was fall in the water, then stare at Balloon Boy coming at him with no urgency to get out. Also, when he checks the animatronics locations to try to find Abby, he checks Freddy and Bonnie's first, instead of Chica. It's pretty obvious Abby would be with Chica. She's her favorite. I know because of him checking Freddy's location, Vanessa was able to save these old people, but they could have survived this without her. We'll get into that later though. Also, if Mike was faster on the computer, or just checked Chica's location instantly, he could have disabled the animatronics earlier, which would have saved Vanessa from Mangle, the old people with Freddy, along with giving Abby's precise location sooner, since Puppet was inside Toy Chica. But since Mike took his sweet time on the computer, while Vanessa was driving, Mangle attacked her from on top of her car. And Vanessa handles this situation genuinely horrible. She starts instantly swerving her car side to side, which ends with her in a ditch and with her car turned off. In this situation, you are pretty cooked. Not only is there a slim chance your car turns back on, but bro, you are stationary in a cramped space against Mangle. There is truthfully no way you realistically survive this. If Vanessa wasn't a main character, she would have most definitely died. The thing is though, you don't have to get in this situation if you're smart like Maximo Esco. So once you realize Mangle was on top of your car, you pretty much pedal to the metal, go super fast, and then brake so hard, Mangle will fly off your car. Also, this is proven to work because Vanessa does this once she gets to Freddy's location, which is just so baffling to me. Yeah, she aura farmed and saved these old people, but she drove all the way here with a Mangle on top of her car. That's so stupid. Okay, so now let's imagine Vanessa did not aura farm, and these old people had to go head to head with Toy Freddy. So there's a cabinet right next to the old people, and you could push this cabinet on top of Toy Freddy to stop him, but it's not that easy. You gotta be strategic with it. Here's what you do. Toy Freddy has no weapons, meaning he has to be close range to attack. So you walk over to the cabinet, forcing Toy Freddy to get near it. Once he's near it, you and your wife both grab the cabinet and push it down on top of Toy Freddy, and bam, you win. Now let's go over to Freddy's best man, Bonnie. This little girl is in her room, and Bonnie knocks on the window, so she lets him in. I mean, I don't think I personally would just let in a huge robot into my room. Now whatever, I get it, she wanted to talk to Matt Pat. I understand, me too. The kid is technically safe anyway, so it's more up to the mom to survive. So after she sees Bonnie, she crawls herself into this corner and just sits there scared. But right next to her was a huge cabinet. Yeah, the survival here is pretty much the same as Freddy. Push the cabinet on top of Bonnie, run out, survive. Finally, we go to the closing sequence. Now this situation is extremely rough, and if it wasn't for Mike going to Freddy's from the first movie and calling out to them and asking for help, there is a very slim chance of survival for them. Once Mike gets back home, Abby is possessed by Puppet, so he smartly plays the music box, then turns it off instantly, which is very dumb, and the reason Vanessa ends up getting possessed, which is a very dumb mistake, and I'm surprised Vanessa let it happen, but whatever. The main focus here is when Michael Afton enters the house with his gang of toy animatronics. It seems he now is in control of them, because as soon as he tells them to break their bones, they engage ready to attack. Obviously, because of Mike going to Freddy's, the FNAF 1 animatronics come and absolutely annihilate the toy animatronics. But let's for a moment roleplay that the FNAF 1 animatronics never came. You would probably think this situation is impossible to survive, and you're wrong. Here's how you do it. We know that Michael Afton is controlling these animatronics now, meaning if he can't speak, he can't tell them what to do. Also, before he said break their bones, the animatronics were in standby mode to allow him to give his cringe anime dialogue. So here's what you do. While Afton is speaking to Vanessa and not looking at you, you knock him out, either with a punch or you grab the stereo and smack him in the head so hard he cannot speak. Then you turn on the music box so Puppet can't control the animatronics either. Then you one by one disassemble the toy animatronics. Then you take Puppet back to Freddy's, turn on the music box, enable perimeter lock, and you win. Comment Freddy twerking if you made it this far. There's probably a video in the middle of the screen, so if you want to click it, you can. If not, thank you for watching. Goodbye.